Looks like it's about 10:37. We're running a little behind, but we're gonna call the meeting to order. Other people will probably supposed to go in, so. You wanna say anything else first?
Right. Hey, Rich.
No.
Timing.
Hey, I was.
Yeah. Yeah, there's like some diesel fumage going on there. I think it's fine, but
It is, it's specifically they're cleaning a tank or something,
Okay.
and this is a byproduct of the cleaning process.
Excellent. So we'll try to be efficient with our meeting.
No smoke.
No smoke. Okay, so if you don't mind, do a couple of introductions. I know we've got
Yeah,
at
that's
least
fine.
one new staff.
I'm Melanie Davis, Vice Chair of the CCC.
Brandon Smith, Omaha Public Schools. Mark Miner, South Ohio Transit. Alex Johnson, MAPA News. Mark Barlow with MAPA.
Nicole Ebot, Metro Transit.
Alicia Johnson, Metro Transit. See button, MAPA.
Amanda Parker, City of Bellevue.
Fall on Nebraska VR and
Sí se llama, no. Sí se
Lee Meyer is AARP.
hacer tal cosa, puede decir de ahora.
Oh.
Como saben que no saben.
Oh, and then those online.
Donna Montgomery, City of Papillion.
Haley Stanley, City of La Vista.
Ni siquiera pasó por mi mente decir
Is that all we got for
Sam Hooper, Omaha Chamber of Commerce.
Tina Murray, together.
Kenny Jackson from Council Bluffs and answer so with a chat.
All right, so I guess our first item is looking at the minutes from April 16th. So if no revisions, we would need a motion to approve and then a second.
Entonces, lee un poco. You know what I mean? O sea, no, like, realmente. Dije, no, nosotros.
Motion to approve.
Nosotros leemos, hemos hecho PTO. Eso es
All in favor?
como si con la
Anyone opposed?
para decir, y está bien. Vamos
All
a,
approved.
no podemos cambiar eso.
All right.
Entonces ahora le dije, lo único que es saber que avisarle a ella.
Do we have anyone online trying to make a comment, or if not, please make sure to mute yourselves?
No.
We're getting some background noise.
Eso es radiation.
All right, so then I think I said the wrong date, sorry, it was June 18th.
For the minutes.
Yeah, so just for notable. So our next item is the bylaws and updates. To kind of give an idea, we've met beforehand, trying to make the best use of everybody's time. There was a few just technicalities in there. I think ultimately the main part is, you know, kind of going with if somebody necessarily isn't part of an individual organization, to still be able to be part of the committee, have voting rights, those kind of things. So we kind of went back on the membership side of really if you are any qualifying one of those, essentially welcome to join the committee. And ultimately having just one organization be limited to one official voting. That was kind of the main part on the membership side. We kind of clarified on what it looks like to restore those votes if you do happen to be missing a few meetings. And how to essentially try to reinstate those. I'm on page 3 as I'm kind of following along here. We also just kind of noted, this one doesn't necessarily need to be in here, but we kind of went with it, but it's more of just using your own judgment when it comes to voting on things. If there is a conflict of interest, you know, you're welcome to not necessarily to vote on it. And kind of just leaving it at that.
So one thing I'll bring up for the conflict of interest more, and just to clarify, I think Alex, it's his first meeting to the coordinated transit committee, so welcome. He doesn't have a whole lot of background on what we are and what we do. So a lot of this committee's actions tend towards funding review and approval for applications under the 5310 program. So this introduction of the potential conflict of interest policy was just, it was proposed as an option for when funding decisions are made. It was proposed that we have some kind of conflict of interest policy that is more pertaining, I think, and Rich, I wanted to clarify this with you a little bit, more pertaining to like personal conflict of interest. Because we kind of recognize that most people in this room are going to be representing an organization, and oftentimes those organizations are the same people that are applying for funding. So if we remove everybody who has professional conflict from approving funding, then we're just never going to be able to pass anything, because people making decisions are also the people that are submitting the applications. So this would be more for a personal conflict of interest. So if, for example, like you have a spouse who sells buses, then maybe you should excuse yourself from that kind of vote. MAPA does not currently have a conflict of interest policy written for our subcommittees, which CTC is a subcommittee of TTAC. We do have one for our board, but I don't think we have one for anything like down the chain.
Yeah, and kind of just the whole idea of the committee is you're still welcome to share your philosophy or your comments on things. It's just trying to clean things up, make it a little bit more maybe organized or clarified.
So my one hesitation with including this edit would be that I would like for us to have a policy or a form that we would give to people before we write it in the bylaws, because if it's written in the bylaws and we don't actually have a form for people to sign, then that could get bold, messy, and jumping. Not to say we couldn't develop a form, just might take a bit of time, and that might need to run through our legal department and everything else, so. Open to thoughts and comments on that. I will remind the group also that any funding decisions that are made by this committee ultimately have to go up through TTAC for approval, and then ultimately also have to go up through the board, and the board does have their conflict of interest policy. So voting in this committee often is kind of more of a specialized recommendation to the voting powers within MAPA, as opposed to final decision, which may also lessen the need for a conflict of interest policy, but that's open for discussion.
Have there been any issues with this in the past?
Not that I'm aware of, no. So my recommendation would be to not include that piece, but if people have strong feelings for its inclusion, we can definitely keep it.
I'll look at your percent.
Yeah.
I agree with you. Yeah.
I think when I put it in there, I was just kind of going through and cleaning things up. I was looking more from like a transparency component,
Yeah.
which we could honestly just reword this a bit to make it reflect that. I wasn't looking for any particular scenario or anything like that. I was just kind of.
So if it were to be reworded, then what would the recommendation be on how to reword that, I guess?
Open for suggestions.
Could we add something like at the end that says, like, and shall provide acknowledgement of no conflicts prior to participating in the decision making, like the funding decisions, because then that would kind of punt it down, like when we get to that point, like in preparation for voting or reviewing funding recommendations. At that time, we acknowledge any conflict of interest.
Yeah. So if there is one, share it, and then you can still essentially vote. Yeah.
Or abstain if.
Yeah, I like that.
So instead of a formal policy, it could just be like, each member shall disclose any potential personal conflict of interest prior to a funding related.
Yeah, let's do that.
Yeah, personal or professional.
Can you go with that?
Yeah, I'm good with that. I like that.
That was our thoughts on it. If we had a specific scenario, that obviously would help.
Yeah.
Clarify, but trying to prevent issues more than anything. Okay, so she'll work on that part. So I'm gonna continue to run through, page 4. So the other thing that we added, and I wanna say it was maybe January, February, there was some crazy weather. And the way the bylaws were currently written was if we didn't have an in-person meeting, we couldn't vote. And of course, we don't want to stop that. So we added a piece in there that if the meeting is conducted virtually, whether if it's, the College World Series has destroyed parking or weather related or whatever it may be. That if MAPA co-chairs or really any of it decide to do a virtual only, that opens our bylaws to doing our traditional voting. That way we're not stuck when it comes to project selection or any of those things.
Yeah.
So.
Yep, and I know that we've gone back on this one a little bit as well. When one of the earlier iterations we had the virtual voting would only be permitted for non-financial related agenda items. I think looking at it now, it looks like we removed that piece, so I'm happy in keeping it
Simple.
yeah.
Yeah. So and just to clarify, and I do think that this is still in there for being addressed. And I'll look
I
here.
can actually open these up and we can kind of look at one screen as well. Or is that sharing online?
Yes. So I'm looking for it, but essentially we left it in there that attending virtually doesn't. Essentially, you're still in attendance.
Correct, so virtual attendance still counts as attendance in terms of maintaining voting status for the committee. And that's true regardless of anything that's going on. So this is really just saying that on a regular meeting, members must be in person to vote. Unless something calls for a virtual only meeting, in which case committees are still welcome to conduct business virtually.
And to kind of set the, maybe spoiler a bit, one of our discussions today is to look at doing quarterly meetings. So if we do, just because as you can probably tell, we haven't had a whole lot of action items. I think we canceled the last one just because we didn't have immediate topics. So kind of going to that quarterly philosophy, if we miss one, because I know before this, we've been pretty adamant on not ever going more than 2 meetings and not having one. So that way it'll pretty much guarantee we'll be meeting quarterly, which I think it actually says that's our minimum.
Yeah, minimum required meetings is quarterly.
Yeah, so that's kind of where all of this was coming into play. So if you have any thoughts about that we should act now in the bylaws, speak up. But I think we're currently written in a way that hopefully is future proof.
And if anybody has any specific thoughts around whether we should or shouldn't be quarterly, like, it would be good to hear that now.
I will say that one risk of having quarterly meetings is potentially not making a quorum at all of those meetings. I think even if we hold them, they still count for having held a meeting, even if quorums have met, or is that not how it works? Is that a little too nitpicky?
Sure, I don't know.
Cause if we do have only 4 meetings a year and quorums not met at one of those meetings, that might make it a little dicey, but I mean. We could adjust this voting language as well to just generally allow for virtual voting. Just period across all meetings. The risk with that is that we end up not having a lot of people show up in person to meetings and kind of limits discussion capabilities that a little bit as well, but. Well, I will say that our finance committee for MAPA as an organization is now only conducting meetings virtually. So there is a precedent for that as well, if you would prefer that.
You ever thought of a pre-registration? So you know who you're gonna have as far as there's gonna be a quorum before the meeting?
So we usually base that off of meeting acceptance on the calendar invites. There have been times if we don't have enough calendar invites that we start kind of calling or sending out follow-up emails, be like, hey, it looks like we might not make quorum. Are you planning on coming? Are you able to come? Are you able to send an alternate? But we have historically used the calendar invites as kind of like that first step in trying to figure that out.
I'll tell you one thing with the virtual voting, it's an hour or hour drive for me from Omaha.
Yeah.
And if something's busy,
Yeah.
You know, I mean, I have an accident or something.
Yeah.
A lot of times I won't be able to make it,
Mhm.
but, and I think even with the coverage area, you have someone coming from McClellan.
Yeah.
You know, we're open McClellan to Iowa.
Mhm.
And that's, again, that's another 45-50 minutes. I think you may get more attendance for the meeting in general if you really say, hey, there's a virtual, we have virtual. And you're able to vote too if you are virtually.
Yeah, there are definitely some benefits to moving virtually, but I know there's some concerns as well, so. I would kind of leave that decision up to the committee as a whole.
Does the CTC have to follow Nebraska Open Meetings Act?
Now, TTAC is open meetings, and because CTC is a subcommittee of TTAC, then we're kind of past the responsibility of needing to be open meeting. It is open to the public, but it does not necessarily need to adhere to the Open Meetings Act or the Iowa Charter.
Any others? I think that these are great points, and if we're gonna make a change,
Now would be the time to meet.
yeah.
Virtual is more convenient for sure.
I think the question then is whether the committee would rather generally meet virtually.
Yeah.
Or if you would rather have in-person discussion. That's really what the issue is, because if there's a desire for in-person discussion, then allowing just general online voting will discourage that, but most people are gonna start to just join virtually, but if that's fine, if the committee doesn't really have a particular reason that you want to be here in person, then why not make it virtual? But if you see it's I guess it's kind of a committee desire / values kind of question. Is there you see a benefit in meeting in person, and maybe, you know, you can make it 3 out of the 4 are virtual, and then, you know, once a year you come together and have in-person discussion, because I you know, people say there's kind of.
Can we have language about if to hold things virtually unless the co-chairs or MAPA staff feel it's necessary to have an in-person discussion?
You just have the option, I mean, right now, so if you wanna add the option to call an entirely virtual meeting. That's probably sufficient, like just having the ability to call a virtual meeting. And then if we generally, you know, we can just state each time this would be an entirely virtual meeting, and it's kind of up to the chairs as to whether you want to call it that way. And if you wanna get into the habit of doing that, then that's, and you know, this can be revisited. You don't wanna revisit this every meeting, but you know, sure, each new fiscal year, you might want to say, you know, is this working, you know, we want to keep doing this right.
Cause I'll be honest, where my disconnect is the hybrid component.
Yeah.
I'm perfectly fine one or the other,
Mhm.
cause for goodness sake, you know, to respect of everybody on Zoom land. There's a disconnect, at least from me to them. Which I know, of course, you know, we can mute and unmute in the chat part, but. It just, I've never found a hybrid meeting that includes both audiences.
I'd agree, yeah.
So that's kind of where I liked the addition of. If we wanted to go virtual, that opens everything to where we can act as if we were in person.
Yeah.
So if anybody else feels that, I mean, I'm up for it.
Cause we could adjust the language under section 3, so that just kind of, and I'll just do it now, because I'm sharing with everybody, you guys know what's getting approved.
Yeah.
Later. I would just put this section first. Decides to capture all of it instead of just.
Yeah.
And then this would be like. Just do that.
Yeah.
This is still new. And then, or should, I mean, if the meeting is called in person. Never does the present to vote.
Cause for everybody in the meeting, Melody and I and at least Lindsay will meet I think it's the first Tuesday of the month. That way it pretty much guarantees us at least 2 weeks before the meeting is scheduled. So I mean, we could ultimately leave it up to that to go with, that's usually when we figure out the agenda. And kind of if that's where we canceled, the last one.
I think it's important to note though, Rich, that you and I are doing that and it won't always be us, so that may not always happen.
Sure.
That's something that you and I really wanted, was those pre-prep meetings.
But to Court's point, you could change that every time there's a new election, right? So the new board person could have their own preference for when they do that. So I don't think that, like, that could be your guys' preference, and then the next time you have it, either they keep that or they say, you know what, I'm a different person, I want different, the chair then.
But just curious, those in the room, would you rather it be virtual or would you rather be here today? Anybody want to share?
Virtual.
I know you transportation, I get that.
Virtual's kind of, your attention can be divided, especially in my environment where, so it's a little easier to come here because I'm at my desk, there's gonna be nonstop, constant responsibilities that are going on that would divide my attention from what's going on here.
Yeah, and that's truly my hesitation, and more so when it comes to project selection of knowing how complex a lot of the scenarios can be. Like if you think 2-3 years ago when we had to increase a number by like 20%, that was a big number. So for me, in knowing my own weaknesses, if I'm in a virtual meeting, it's easy to multitask or distractions in the room, those things. So that's truly where knowing that I have those flaws that the rest of us could also. And that's where my hesitation is on having virtual only.
If I can say, just from my involvement being here, I think, and forgive me if I sound a little selfish in saying this, I think that this committee has made a lot of progress because they've seen somebody like me in the room over the years. And if you go virtual, you may not get that visual all the time. And it may not always be me. I can do very well in a virtual environment. But if it isn't people that know me and getting to see me, they're not gonna get the same effect. So just keep that in mind as you look at users later.
Yeah.
I know, I will say one thing, 10 years ago, there was a lot more members present at these meetings. We were downstairs and a lot of times ran out of room.
Yep.
And even with the online, there's not as many people involved anymore, and that is not good for this committee in general. Because you lose a lot of different voices. So, I mean, I think that the committee needs to take a good hard look at how we get more people into these meetings, whether it is virtual or whether it is in person. The more people we have and the more, I shouldn't say opinions, but more perspectives we have, the stronger it's gonna be and the louder the voice is gonna be for different kinds of changes that I think everybody wants to see at some point. So I think that should be something that, when you guys look at this, that inclusiveness is looked at and, how do we get those people back? How do we get those organizations back to play a role?
From my experience of mentoring individuals with disabilities, we utilize the service that we're discussing. Not everyone participates well in a virtual environment. So just know that. So having the flexibility, I think, is what works for me. For example, today I got here at 9:30, so I've been here a long time.
But that also goes to the point of essentially time commitment, like I applaud you being like making a point to be here in person. Not only for, you know, yourself, but just kind of as that image. That's also a huge time commitment,
Oh yeah, that's my very good.
you know, and that's where I wanna be respectful of it too.
Yeah.
Of knowing that somebody has an hour or like you, cause when do you have to call Moby to set this up?
Oh, I call 24 hours a day.
Yeah, I was gonna say at least a day in advance. So great conversation.
I would say as long as you keep the option open to be in person, so you don't lose some voices, because the inclusivity is important.
So what I'm hearing from that discussion, as far as the bylaws are concerned, it sounds like we want to at least have provisions for if a meeting is in person, you need to be in person to vote. If a meeting is virtual, you can vote virtually. I guess in a hybrid situation, we would default to in-person voting.
Yeah.
Cause I think all of our in-person meetings are always gonna be hybrid meetings.
Yeah.
So. Okay, so I can go through, I don't need to wordsmith it right now, but I can go through and update that based on the
Yeah,
discussion.
just with that way it opens it if we do a virtual.
Yeah.
I know-
So if there's bad weather or
Yeah.
if it's just decided that it doesn't need to be conducted in person, then people online are still able to vote, is all the bylaws kind of.
And continuing, we just added some language in there for section 7, if there is a subcommittee or a work group. It was just adding clarity. And then lastly, the bylaws, obviously, we were talking about just having a 2/3 vote from the committee. And then we'll submit it to TTAC.
I think something that we didn't state in the beginning of the bylaws, where we're providing the ability for anyone to be members and have voting slots. The reason that came up for some context for you all that maybe don't know, I'm no longer with the Mineral Miner Institute, so today I'm representing myself and other users. And when that came up, I said, well, I'm still willing to serve as vice chair. I just want to make sure that our bylaws are permitting that, and so that's what that.
And there was some contradictory language in the bylaws before we opened them up this month, that some places it said that users are eligible and other places it says member organizations, so we're just kind of going through make sure that it's more transparent and clear that users of the public transit system are eligible members.
Yeah.
And that's kind of just getting rid of that first line, following the rest there.
And the other thing that I changed was the person first language where it said disabled individuals.
Yeah.
We switched that around to the proper term of individuals with disabilities. Only to default to that, you know, the individual can identify how they want, but.
Oh, I think we just pulled out that entire sentence, so it wasn't.
Well, even on the first page, we had that listed there too, which we
Yeah.
did change that one. So, and then I added the definitions of what each of those mean. As far as like whoever, you know, whether that's tied to ADA or whatnot.
Yeah.
Is all of that subject to change? Okay.
Okay.
We wanna vote on it? Or do we need to wait until we maybe wordsmith that more?
I think it's fine to vote on the changes as written, providing provisions to accommodate the discussion that was had in the read. Just so they don't have to bring it back to another vote at a future date.
Alright, so what she said, if that is true, we need a motion and a second.
I motion to approve. I'll second.
Alright, do we need to do an itemized, like, if they're in favor?
Roll call.
There you go.
Yeah, you say all in favor and then I'll vote.
But we don't need a roll call vote. So-
No, I don't think.
I don't think so, but I just wanted to make sure, this is hierarchy thing. Alright, so all those in favor, say aye. Anyone opposed?
Next,
So no more edits.
no more edits. Rich, I'm going to block you out of the bylaws.
That's the story.
Yeah.
Well, to fully give clarity, this is a public document.
It is.
So there's no confidentiality there, so a lot of this was GPT'd for consistency. Which, well, I spent a whole Friday going through this.
And you and I met, what, 2-3 times?
Yeah. So we put some time into it this time. Trying to kind of build it for the future. This is ultimately what we go off of. And the one thing that I really like about using the AI side is either getting obviously the draft or that clarity piece. Because like she was mentioning before, is that if it didn't, we have to be consistent through all of it, otherwise it's going against each other. So used as a tool, not as a final copy. Okay, all right, we can move forward. So next one there, membership status and renewals, kind of to the point before, our committee has been bigger in the past. So trying to also kind of recruit, reinstate, all of those things was reason for bringing it to discussion.
Yeah, so we've kind of got two pieces here. The first is every fiscal year, we kind of look back at the last year's attendance on committees. In this committee in particular, it is in the bylaws that any member who accrues more than 3 absences during fiscal year will have their voting status paused and basically need to re-express their interest in continuing to be a member of the committee. So today we're talking about that, and then on the other flip side, we're going to be talking about membership recruitment as well. So this is just a straight pull out of what is the bylaws. So based on that analysis, Black Hills Works did accrue 7 absences over the last fiscal year. I did reach out to them several weeks ago to see if they were still interested in maintaining voting status and being a member of the committee, and I have not heard back. So safe to say, we will keep following up with them, and they are still included on all of our communications going out and all of our meeting invites and everything. All this means is that they would be, their voting status would be revoked until they're able to attend 3 consecutive meetings and kind of reinstate their interest in participating. Empowerment Network, same thing, 5 absences. I did reach out to Vicky. Vicky said that kind of a lot of their priorities have shifted a bit and she's just too busy to be able to make time. So for now, we're going to remove that voting status as well. She's still gonna come as she can, but she doesn't want to be holding us up if there could be other people that would be able to fill those vacancies. SWITA, Mark, thank you for driving an hour to come and hang out with us today. There was some, it was before I started, but something happened about absences and then a similar situation of voting rights paused happened, but Mark's been attending pretty regularly over the last year or so. So we reached out to SWITA to see if they would be interested in reinstating their voting membership status. Mark, it sounds like that is the request, yes? Perfect, for those online, he's nodding, so. Yeah. So we're hoping to open to a vote for everyone to reinstate SWITA's voting status, and then the floor is also open for any other requests of voting membership. We did reach out to Lutheran Family Services as well. Lutheran Family Services had a pretty good track record in fiscal 24. A few more absences in 25 as their contact first, I think retired, is that correct? So Rich reached out to see if they'd be interested in participating, and I think we might have someone online from LFS today, do we? I'm not sure. From Lutheran Family Services. Is there anyone online today from Lutheran Family Services? No, okay, maybe not. Okay, so we're not able to hear anybody online if you were making comment. But it sounds like they would be interested in becoming member, well, they are currently, I think, non-voting members, and this would be to state voting ability, and so they would, same requirement, need to attend 3 consecutive meetings before they would be eligible. So that kind of gets to, well, I guess, first and foremost, we can entertain a vote on voting status for SWITA. Would be the first request.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Oh, there's a motion.
Yeah.
I'll motion to
I was gonna
approve.
say, was that your motion?
I can't, I'm not allowed to. motion, so I was like, we would entertain that motion.
I'll motion to reinstate.
Yeah.
Okay, it's a crop now, right?
All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? All right,
Who seconded? Sorry, I was.
Amanda.
Oh, I second.
Yeah. Welcome back.
I will also admit, I know Court and I were talking that we were kind of shocked that
Yeah.
there was a pause.
Exactly.
I know you've attended many,
Yeah. That was weird.
I mean,
Yeah.
I don't
Over
know.
time, things got crazy, so.
Yeah.
I mean, same, so,
Have we ever had anybody from the city?
Of Omaha?
Yeah, me. When I was at the city of Omaha, I was the CTC voting member, but that was 3 years ago now, so I don't work there.
So you probably reach back out to the city and try and get representation, maybe if you soon.
Cause they need
Use
to
the
do,
room.
they should be doing their update soon, right,
Yeah.
for their what is their document called with like HUD funding? Needs to come to CTC actually,
Yeah.
that's like a requirement of their. I
Oh,
can't
okay.
remember what the funding type is right now, but I could look it up.
Yeah, that would be helpful, would you mind?
Yeah, I will.
So to that end, this here is kind of the outlines of what membership eligibility entails. So aside from Lutheran Family Services, there are other organizations or individuals that you all think that we would benefit from them being here, and you would benefit from being here as well, then I would encourage you to let us know. And we can start reaching out and seeing what we can do to kind of increase our participation in this group.
Heartland Bike Share or Bike Walk, we're asking. I don't know if there's an IWAG poll.
So I think this is mostly to do with transit as opposed to transportation in general, but I mean, like, I guess.
People are pedestrians first.
That's true.
Yeah, yeah, I mean, yeah, we can ask them. They might be interested, yeah, I mean, we might,
Yeah.
might as well ask.
Do you just send something out to like, I don't know, Share Omaha, because they have that, they work with all kinds of nonprofits and see who's interested?
Yeah.
do you happen to have the list of current voting?
I do.
And I know we talked about this kind of in the pre-meeting, with the MMI slot. I had suggested an individual, Sam, I think Alicia has worked with her before, I don't know where that lies, that would be the individual to reach out to, if there's a slot.
Should be great.
So this is kind of our list of historic attendance, just generally. Not everyone in this list is a voting member, the voting members are in green. What's that?
No, sorry.
Oh, this is.
I missed two.
Oh, this is fiscal 24. This
Oh,
isn't even,
yeah.
this isn't even the most recent year before. You missed 2 last time.
Right on the chopping block.
Right? Let's see, where are you at? Okay, yeah, you missed 2 last time.
No, I
Amanda,
guess, I
Amanda, you're on it.
Oh, it's vacation.
Yep. So this is kind of the groups that historically have come to meetings. These are recorded absences. I don't remember off the top of my head how many meetings there were each year, so I'm not sure what that like ratio looks like.
Say maybe 9.
Yeah, probably somewhere there. But these are people who have historically been involved, at least tangentially with this committee. And this is a list that we can definitely start with. If you want us to reach out to existing non-voting members to see if they would like voting status, but.
So help me understand, and I'm gonna phone a friend on this one.
Yeah.
When you're looking at the city side of things, what department should we reach out to, like what department or people?
Human services.
Okay. Cause where this is going is like, City of Papillion, for example. I know somebody in HR and their name's not on there, so I was trying to also figure out like.
So for the city, HR will deal with, or work with the employees, where human services works with the community.
Okay.
I don't know if that's how every city does.
Yes, so for Papillion, it would be the senior services, not human resources, that does the transportation system.
That makes sense. So like for City of Omaha, it wouldn't necessarily be like the human rights and relations?
So City of Omaha is also a little bit different because City of Omaha is covered under Metro Transit's service area, whereas Papillion has their own transit service, essentially.
Oh, sure.
I would just say human rights and relations could be good though, because they oversee the poverty elimination action plan and they included transit as part of their action items.
I'm texting mine now, and tell them that they should come.
Nice.
Well, and that's where my thinking coming from is that if we understand which departments and whatnot. We could have better representation, because I do agree that for Omaha's human rights and relations. would be Huge if we can somehow get them here.
And then that kind of goes back to this eligibility list, right? So that would be advocate of coordination, so operative social service programs. So if that's a poverty issue, then that could be considered a social service program, I guess, in a way,
Or not.
or an advocate, exactly.
Cause that was the component, is we didn't necessarily have to have the individual be employed there. It isn't,
No.
that was where the barrier that didn't need to be there.
Do we need to vote Melanie in as the voting? Is it?
Let's hit up to,
That's a good question, actually.
cause we did propose the idea of she would have to attend 3
Right.
as an individual in order to do that.
Well, I'll just keep showing up and then we'll get to it when I get to it.
So. I mean, I'm fine calling it, cause I mean, she has been here the last 3.
Right, I think this is a kind of like a special use case where Melanie has been attending. I don't necessarily think she would need to attend. I was separately as an individual.
Personally, just to be consistent and fair to everyone, I would rather wait until me as an individual has met my 3 meetings before we vote me.
Then we hear you, and we'll go with that.
Alright.
I don't want it to get confusing later if we don't follow that.
So then we'll update you in our records to non-voting.
And then whoever takes the MSI slot, you vote them in when they get their 3 meetings too. So.
I will clarify, there's nothing in the bylaws that says the chairs have to be voting members. So I think it's fine for you to still serve as a co-chair. I honestly,
If anyone doesn't want me here, just say it now.
I mean, and I do think it's a weird situation. I don't think we move to this very often or ever, but just for clarification, I guess.
So, I think we forgot to pause and ask if there was any other members that wanted to, even virtually, if there was anybody online that wanted to reinstate.
Membership. So that would be for if we had anyone from Empowerment Network or Black Hills Works.
Worst to start. Like, Tina, I'm thinking of you. I don't know if you've necessarily been attending the last 3 or if it was the last 2. But if there's more examples of like that, speak now or we can talk about it next time.
Could one person represent 2 organizations?
I don't believe so, no. I think you could attend, but I don't think you would be able to vote simultaneously for both boards. They would need to send an alternate.
Yeah, cause in the bylaws, we do say that, any organization shall be limited to 1 official voting representative.
But that works from the organization to person level, it's not really.
Yeah, so I guess the way I'm looking at it is that it could count, in my opinion, for attendance on both.
Right.
But then the voting would just be the 1.
Fair enough.
Yeah. But I know that's a great scenario, cause I think when Travis and I were talking about it, even from like co-chair status. Am I here as an individual or am I here as an organization? And I think the voting goes based upon organization first. Yeah. Okay, so I hear no others, so we can move forward.
Somebody.
Yeah, somebody's got
Somebody has a hand.
Carlos.
Carlos has a hand raised. Carlos, what would you like?
Yeah, just a quick, while you're looking through your membership and trying to recruit other members, I think, and Lindsay, you'll probably touch on this a little bit more as we're working through the coordinated transportation plan. But one of the things that does strike me is the lack of representation at the county level, right? So we don't have Department of Public Health from either Sarpy or Douglas County. And I think they may have a little bit of additional coordination work that might be able to help enhance some of the work that this committee might be doing. And we're happy to reach out to county members to become a little bit more actively involved here and kind of work through what that means. Obviously, anyone from this committee is always welcome to attend TTAC. And usually we have representation from all the counties there and a lot of public works directors or their people that might be able to make additional links to some of the work that's going on through here. But, you know, just thinking with the end in mind is the only thought I want to express. Thanks, Nell.
No, thanks, Carlos, because that also has me thinking that when it comes to TTAC, we could essentially, when they go through our bylaws, we could propose the idea of them of, hey, we're going quarterly, so less of a commitment. And we get you to come to our meetings too.
Right.
Because I do want to be respectful that those are two meetings that's a commitment. So maybe if it is quarterly, that would help.
I would say that's helpful in a lot of ways. TTAC meetings are not as easy for individuals with disabilities to get to.
No. And I will say, I don't necessarily know if the public works people are the people who want on this meeting, but I think human services is definitely a good route to look at for sure.
Depends on the ask.
Depends on the ask for sure.
If you, if you had more of a direct ask for members of TTAC, then that would
Yeah.
true.
And Cord and Lindsay, this is direction to my staff. While I have the voice of the room coming through. One of the other things we could do is share notes and vice versa, right? So you could spend like 5 or 10 minutes. Here are the key things that we talked about at TTAC, just so everyone's kind of aware, right, of what each other is doing, right? Obviously, getting to the details of we voted on each of the remaining bylaws and who's going to be a voting member versus who's, we don't need that level of detail, right? But important conversations that touch on each of the committee's core mission and goals might be sufficient, right? Like we might be able to share, hey, TTAC is opening a call for projects next month. Here's some of the key things to consider, blah, blah, blah. At the same time, here's some additional discussions that might impact this group, right? With regard to that conversation about e-mobility devices and additional conversations needed throughout the region about that. Again, you know, that sort of touches on this kind of mobility and access and providing access to services for people that have mobility impairments or are seniors, right? Sometimes we cannot get transit services out to where people need it. Sometimes some other options do exist, and trying to figure out how that plays out throughout the region becomes a little bit more important. But yeah, as staff, we can be a little bit more involved in terms of aligning and informing each of the groups.
So do you guys have somebody at Sarpy County to reach out to?
We can find some.
I might have somebody I could lean on for Douglas County. So I'll do that kind of like what we did with Lutheran Food Services. So, all right.
All right.
Metro Flex.
All right.
I just know. So it's like I need to pull up slides here, give me a second. Everybody's gonna see how jumbled my tabs and emails are. Just never mind. So it goes.
I've seen worse.
Oh, I guess I'm sorry. You say that, but I mean, you haven't seen that.
So as Lindsay pulls this up, I will just share that I have a lot of information in here. We can go as quick or as slow as you would like. If you want more information, please just pop in and let me know. And I can elaborate or punt it to Nicole to answer as well, so. So MetroFlex is the pilot service that Metro Transit is currently overseeing. So a couple of months ago, earlier this year, I kind of presented and gave an overview of the proposed service. We are now a month into implementation, and we have just under a month until we start charging fares. So I'm just gonna kind of give a little bit of an overview. We have our 3 zones that this is the same as what was originally proposed. And so we have the north zone, south zone, and west zone. People can ride end to end on MetroFlex within the zone. Or the MetroFlex vehicle can help get them to the closest bus route if they need to go outside of that zone. We do also have the ability to transfer to Mobi, which I have some information on there. This is a map that we included in some of our, in our public outreach in July. This shows our service area, including the Mobi service area. So that is the blue line area, overlapped with MetroFlex, which are the pink areas. So you can kind of see that the west zone, it does help extend further, particularly it now provides service to Boys Town, which is exciting. And a little bit on the south zone all the way down to Harrison. And then a tiny little bit of extension in the north zone. So our hours are Monday through Friday, 6 a.m. to 9 p.m., Saturday, 7 a.m. to 8 p.m., Sunday, 8 a.m. to 6 p.m. All 3 zones have the same service hours, so there's no variation of service hours by zone. So they're all the same. Currently, rides are free through the end of service on October 14th, 2025. So if you want to test out the service, now is the time while it is free. That is kind of our promotional period to get folks familiar with the service, figure out how it works, how they can use it in their day-to-day. So we wanted to give a full, it's essentially 2 months of free fares for MetroFlex. If they are transferring to bus or Mobi, then they still have to pay regular fare during this time. At the start of service on October 15th, fares will be $3 per ride. That does include transfers to fixed route, and we'll talk about the cost for a transfer to or from Mobi. What will be important to note is that some of the other programs that we have that apply to fixed route and or Mobi will not apply to MetroFlex. So our half fare program, which is for senior citizens and individuals with particular disabilities. Past programs, so the K through 12 rides free, any of our university or employer programs, those will not apply to MetroFlex. And then fare capping will also not apply. That is specific to fixed route. And that connects to our monthly rate. So if people are Instead of having to purchase a 30-day pass upfront and have $55, they can kind of pay as they go within the calendar month. And then it stops charging them once they hit $55 or $27.50 for half fare. And then they still scan, but they're not charged any further. So it's kind of a way to increase access to the financial benefit of a 30-day pass without them having to have $55 or $27.50 upfront.
Agencies buy the ticket or the, kind of like how you can buy the book for the fixed routes.
For half fare?
No, for the $3 once that's implemented.
Yes, so we will have tokens available for purchase. So people will be able to pay through the MetroFlex OMA app or through UMO. And there are several options for UMO. So it's either the app or the smart card, and it's the same app, same smart card that is currently in use. And so the system is all set up to recognize which vehicle the device is on. So it will know how much to charge based on the settings. We will also have the ticket vending machines updated that week. So people will be able to purchase a MetroFlex fare at a TBM. And then we'll also have those paper tokens, which is what you were talking about. They're little squares and they have a QR code on them. They'll scan it just like normal. It is important to note that we will not be accepting cash on board. If people want to use cash, they can use cash to purchase a token at a ticket vending machine. Or they can come here and purchase a token or at one of our retail vendor networks. We're working to get those paper tokens out to our existing vendors and are looking to expand the number of vendors as well. For the app, any question on fares before we go forward? Okay. So the app has the trip planning in the app does include bus schedules. So when somebody is looking to book a trip, the app will search for bus schedules. It'll look for MetroFlex vehicle availability and other trips that have been booked. And so that it uses all of that information to then show the best available trip, whether it's by bus, by MetroFlex, or both. And so you can kind of assess which one is the right option. It is available, the app is available in the App Store and in Google Play. It is of course free to download. And if people do not want to use the app, they can book trips through customer service. So that is also important to note for anybody who doesn't want to use the app or doesn't have a smartphone or access to it. All MetroFlex rides are on demand. Trips cannot be booked in advance. So that's especially important for our riders, our Mobi riders, as that is reverse of what is true for Mobi. So they are all on demand. When you're ready to ride is when you request your trip. So the app searches for availability for the upcoming 30 minutes. We're working with our partners to expand that for some enhanced availability for our Mobi riders. So that it will search for availability up to 45 minutes instead of 30 minutes. If a ride is not available, the rider should try again in a few minutes. Again, it's all on demand. That demand is constantly in flux and that availability is constantly updated. Riders do have to accept the trip proposal offered or try again later if they need more time at their location. So even though the app is searching for up to 30 minutes, you can't say, okay, I could leave in 2 minutes or I could leave in 30 minutes. You have to go with whatever is proposed. So if you need more time at your destination, then you should wait to request that trip. You might be able to see where the demand is, if you're getting ready or like approaching the time that you're ready to leave, but it really should be requesting your trip when you're ready to go. And the trip proposals do have to be accepted within 30 seconds before the app will time out. You'll have to start your trip planning again. I did bring this up to our contractor as possibly a limitation for individuals with disabilities or processing, people who might need more time to process. or use a screen reader. It is currently a limitation of the technology. So hopefully we'll be able to make that update in the future, but if people do need more time, we would recommend that they book trips through customer service.
I have not used it, so I just have a brief question.
Yes.
With this 30-second timeout, does it offer you like a prompt, you will be timed out and you lose such and such seconds or something that would help some individuals at all?
So there's a status bar at the bottom and it kind of counts down.
Oh, okay.
I say it doesn't really count down so much as it's, like it gets a little colored bar and it gets lighter and you can see it across as it goes, so. It doesn't tell you like you have 10 seconds left, but you'll have a smaller portion of the bar that's a full color.
There's no way to reset it as well.
It'll automatically reset if you don't accept the trip proposal by that time. So it'll say, okay,
But you do have to put in your location and destination again.
Okay, we can review the transfers from the bus to Metroflex. So if people are starting on the bus and going to Metroflex, they will have to have their fare before they get on the bus. Otherwise, they might have to pay multiple fare. They might have to pay the bus fare and then Metroflex again. So they can also just use the UMO card or app. And again, when they scan it, it charges accordingly. So then they would scan either the token or the app or tap the card, just like normal when they get on the bus. And the same transfer rules apply. So people have up to 90 minutes during the week, 120 minutes during the weekend to scan a token, their app or the card, and have it all be counted as that same trip. So it can be that same fare can be used for one Metroflex vehicle and up to 3 buses. But our bus operators will not be issuing any form of transfers for Metroflex. So again, people will have to have their fare planned out before they get on board. For the reverse, if they are starting on Metroflex and transferring to the bus, again, they have to have their fare before boarding the bus. There is an additional option, only for this specific scenario. A person could pay through the Metroflex OMA app, and then the Metroflex driver would give them a Metroflex UMO token that they can then use on the bus. They scan or tap like normal, same transfer rules apply. Okay, so for Mobi, Mobi riders can get a discount on their fare if they use UMO when transferring to or from Metroflex. So they either have to have the token or use the app or the card. So one Metroflex ride and one Mobi ride would be $4.25. Rather than if they paid a full Metroflex fare and a full Mobi fare, that would be $5.50. So they're able to access that discount when using UMO. Our contractor was not able to build in that same functionality on their end, so that's why that requirement for UMO is there.
So am I hearing that there's 3 apps?
Unfortunately.
Yeah,
Making sure.
I've heard that same thing.
Yes.
Like, this is a lot.
But I know that there's efforts to fix that.
Yeah.
And the likelihood of microtransit or Metroflex ever being rolled into the same app that we're using for tracking though, maybe is not terribly likely, particularly because microtransit is a contractor in its own right, and partially with UMO, it was kind of a matter of we're trying to get our contractor for our fare system to also talk to our contractor for microtransit and.
But I could see the My Ride app possibly going away.
Yeah.
And being into the other ones. I mean, even if you go from 2.
Yeah.
I understand that it's hard to make it one.
Yeah, and the functionality has definitely updated.
For just a brief second, later in the agenda, I do have a discussion point, but my movie is supposed to be here soonish, so.
Oh, you wanna switch?
No, I'll just say we can table that, cause I don't have a huge update anyways.
Okay. Okay, so again, they have to have their fare before they board the van, scan or tap like normal, And then the Mobi rider would request their MetroFlex trip once they arrive at their destination. So once they get off the Mobi van is when they would book their trip. So either through the app or through customer service. And then for folks who are starting on MetroFlex and going to Mobi, again, having their fare ready, scan or tap like normal. And what is important to know is that we will not be changing Mobi pickup windows based on MetroFlex trips. So there is responsibility on the part of the rider that they need to be at their Mobi pickup location by the start of that 30-minute window that was pre-negotiated when they booked their trip. And Mobi operators will not wait longer than the designated period, which is currently 10 minutes. And we'll also come back to that in a little bit. For accessibility, there are wheelchair accessible vehicles available in each zone. They are rear entry vans for wheelchair accessibility. I'm sorry, Melanie, I know it's not the preferred.
They really don't allow for you to take a friend with you, or it's too hard. Taking a service dog on a rear entry van is ridiculous. So I don't know about using it.
And so to book a wheelchair accessible vehicle, riders do need to submit an accessibility request form that is available through the app or by calling customer service.
Lost me when you said I'd have to request another step that I have to do.
I know.
Transit.
But it is a much simpler process than the Mobi application process. And then that just makes a change on the back end to their user profile so that a wheelchair accessible van is always dispatched when they request a ride. There's no professional verification that's required. So it's just a couple of questions for the rider to fill out, or they can work through customer service to do that. And they can also request a closer pickup or drop off through the form if they're not able to get to the virtual MetroFlex stop.
I do have a question about, you said it's on the user about the timing of the window between the two services, and I do get that. I'm curious if there's any efforts on the Mobi side then with the text alert that comes out to be a little more precise at this point to help with some of that?
Yeah, so the limitation with the text alert through the software is mainly not in our control because it is all reliant on the data, like the phone service. So we have a standard issuance, but it doesn't mean that the cellular service provider is gonna get that to you in that moment. So there's.
So then the other thought I had was, I know this is probably a lot of development here, but any options for like a live tracking with the Mobi vehicle software for the users to see, okay, it's almost here.
Yes, so that is.
Otherwise coordinating all this, I'm already looking at this going, a lot of people are gonna miss their rides.
Yeah, so that is the plan. So we're going to be issuing a request for proposals for our paratransit scheduling software. That is on the plan for 2026. And that will be a feature that will be requested. It will be subject to budget availability, but we know that that is the main request.
Okay.
So customer service is the same phone number that we already have, so it's 402-341-0800. You press 1 for bus or general customer service, press 2 for Mobi, press 3 for MetroFlex. It is a different customer service contractor, it's the same contractor that provides the service, but on the user end, you don't need to know a different phone number. We have that all set up.
So can I also, just a suggestion to Metro, myself and I know several other Mobi users, that is not the number we call.
Yeah, so there was a pre-existing number that we have been working to phase out. That is the direct line, but we do want to push everyone to this one, so.
I'm not sure I'm not sure a lot of people even know that, so.
Yes. Yep, those are all in the works. So if you have more questions or want more information about MetroFlex, you can go to metroflexoma.com. Just since we have an OPS rep in the building, I'll just highlight the children aspect. So children 5 and under are ride for free with a paying adult. Children older than 5 do have to pay the regular fare. And then you have to be 13 to ride by yourself.
Just curious, the phone number listed there, for Moby. Does it by chance like have an option if they do want Moby to like give a phone number? So like if somebody calls that phone number and let's say that they never called Moby, or maybe they don't have it on them, is there a way to like transfer?
To Moby.
Oh,
Yeah.
so
Yes.
that is, yeah, so if they end up in the bus or the Moby queue, it's the same contractor.
Okay,
And then our 2 contractors can transfer back and forth.
okay, that's what I was.
How many rides did you guys do the first month, the second month?
We are still, you're acting like I just put that report together yesterday.
She's pulling all that information for our board meeting on
We
Friday.
had the numbers for the first month, give me 2 seconds to pull it. So our completed rides were 1,887.
Not bad for a first month.
And it's kind of one of these, and I don't have it week by week in this report. But the first week was kind of slow as word spread, but by week 4, we were up like 500% over the first week. So it's definitely education and getting the word out there.
Yeah, they always start slow. and I'm
Okay,
Sure by
yeah.
November, December, it'll be 5 times as many rides.
I am curious to see what will happen once fairs start. Because we have a couple of people who I'm calling them super users. We have one person who's ridden more than 100 times in the first month. And 6 people who have taken at least 50 rides. So,
So there's pickup areas that we have, right? And there's service areas in which Metroflex will come pick you up on that map. Does that then, can you take the Metroflex anywhere within the service area, or where can you take the Metroflex?
Only within the zone.
Within the same zone?
Yes.
Yeah.
So like if I take that south Omaha, I can only get to somewhere within the south Omaha, not to like the service area in the west.
Yep, but you can connect to somewhere else by bus.
Sure, yeah.
Yeah.
Just curious.
How many vehicles street?
We have a total of 15 and 3 spares, so we started with 5 vehicles per zone. I think our contractor is kind of assessing if that is the right number per zone. We've had higher utilization in North Omaha, so they might readjust, but that's something that they're constantly watching.
And employment opportunities available on Indeed.
Yes. Any other questions about Metroflex? I encourage you all to use it. You have a little less than a month to try it out for free.
we are currently in the north zone.
Yes. So Cuming is the southern boundary.
Have you had difficulty enforcing that inside the zone only?
No, because it's all set up that the system won't allow you to book a trip outside of that zone.
So you don't know what the demand is?
We can see actually where people are asking to go, and so we're using that information to inform possible future changes to the zones or other service changes, but we have tons and tons of data that we are looking at and filtering through.
So if I request a ride from here to South Omaha, are you capturing that?
Yes, yep, and it would say, it would recommend, it would give you the bus option because it is pulling our bus schedules. And then if there was a point where you might need to transfer to Metroflex, it would include that in.
Good.
Yeah. I know that we're running a little short on time.
So we've got, I don't know, you got 30 seconds on the Moby and Title 6, or you wanna just hold those?
Whatever you want.
So we do have a couple things, for. That I wanted to hit up for the end of the meeting, just kind of in terms of how I wanna schedule our next meeting and some of the priorities for that. I think. We could probably give you another like 3 minutes.
You could do Moby and then push Title 6 to next time.
Yeah.
Okay, so we did a round of public education or public input in July. Our current policy is for Moby drivers to wait up to 10 minutes for a rider to come to the vehicle once the driver arrives within the pickup window. We are proposing to reduce that wait time from 10 to 5 minutes. That does not include boarding time, so as long as our driver can visually see the person making their way to the vehicle within that 5 minutes, they will wait for them. And so that is an important factor. It's not that we're gonna rush people or they have to be on board and in their seat, but within 5 minutes, they just have to be heading towards the vehicle. And we've had some issues with people knowing that the vehicle is there and waiting the full 10 minutes to come out to the vehicle. Finishing their coffee, watering their plants, lots of different examples. And so we are looking to, because we have had an increased demand, we are regularly averaging close to 400 trips a day during the week. And so just to be able to accommodate that, because we do have to meet 100% of the demand, we're just trying to be good stewards of public resources and use that. It will also align with the industry standard. So we did look at other public transit agencies. So even though we provide fixed route service in Council Bluffs does their own paratransit service. So that their para service, STS, as Mark would know, as the longtime provider of CD service, is that only waiting 5 minutes. Kansas City, Des Moines, Minneapolis, and Lincoln all have a 5-minute wait period. So given there are other para type service providers, do you all have thoughts, or how long do you all wait?
5 minutes, I think it's important to note, people might say, well, you cut it in half. But for the most part, a driver, if they know someone's home, they're gonna wait a little bit longer. And usually, if it's, when you run into, and I'm talking transit wide, not just paratransit, if someone doesn't come out within 5 minutes, they're usually not gonna come out.
Right.
I mean, that's usually what you find. I mean, that's the vast majority of no-shows. They're not coming out after 5 minutes. So, I mean, I'm surprised you guys had 10, so.
Yeah.
So to understand, if they are seen within that first 5 minutes, what are they willing to wait after that? So kind of going off of your finishing the coffee, watering the plants, like, does the 5 minutes start over?
No, so they have to be coming out to the vehicle within 5 minutes.
So essentially they could take time.
They could, I mean, our policy is that they're ready at the start of their pickup window, because they know that, the day before. But. Yeah.
I'm almost thinking like an additional language in there, like 5-10 minutes, whatever after visually. I don't know.
So that would vary though, because the boarding time.
Really can't word like that. Because some people have different mobility issues. So if the expectation from the FTA, and this is exactly what the FTA would tell you, is you have to make a good faith effort. If somebody's trying to make their way out to the bus, you can't say, well, probably can't even say you got 20 minutes to get out of that bus. Because different people have different speeds. So, things like that, language like that end up getting you into a bit of trouble.
I can see that.
Amanda, what is your all's policy?
10 minutes.
Oh,
But we're door to door. So they will. Our drivers have a roster with all the clients, phone numbers as well, so they'll give them a call. Sometimes they don't recognize that number, so I'll call from the office. And then some of them, if they know that they're home and they are wheelchair drivers, they'll go knock on the door just to make sure. Well checks. I call them police. No, this person's home. She's okay. But it's a shared ride too, so we just can't wait longer than 10 minutes generally. And we have them ready an hour prior too, so, because it is a shared ride. Yeah, so if they don't show up.
Yeah, and
For
Oh, we got some online.
For City of Papillion, we ask them to be ready 15 minutes ahead of time, so that gives them time to be waiting at the door, whether they have a walker or wheelchair or they are mobile. And then we say that we'll wait 5 minutes. And same thing, our bus drivers will call if they're not coming out. As long as the schedule permits, we'll sit there longer than the 5 minutes. But if we have somebody else that's either on the bus needing to get to their appointment or we need to get to somebody else, generally, we will leave at a little more than that 5 minute period.
thank you.
And just to clarify, what I was asking my question is for people that are abusing, not necessarily the mobility side. Like when you said the coffee or watering plants.
I see, you.
Right, yeah, like, yeah. Yeah, awesome. Well, we're still kind of reviewing feedback that we got. I think most people, once they understood the why, and were understood that that they don't have to be on board within 5 minutes. We're pretty understanding, but there are still some other things that we wanna make sure that are cleaned up before we move towards implementing or fully reviewing.
Alright, so we've got like 2 more minutes, so I'm gonna switch back to our other presentation really quick here. There were a couple things I wanted to hit before we let out, so I know we've got additional business and public comment, so I guess we can do that quick and see if there are any members of the public who wish to make comment on anything that has been discussed today. I don't think we have any, so. So we also have the membership updates. I'm gonna assume, Rich, that we probably don't have time for the member updates. But they are on the agenda. It's a new thing we've added to the agenda now, so moving forward, time permitting, we'll kind of give everybody some time to provide any updates that they would like to about their organizations.
I just really like that with T-TAP.
Yeah.
That way you get to hear even a little update.
Yeah.
Especially if there's time.
Yep. So one thing that I did want to hit on super quick before we adjourn for today. Is I wanted to kind of draw everybody's attention back to our coordinated transit plan. So coordinated transit plan in partnership with the 5310 funding are like the 2 big lifts of this group. So our coordinated transit plan sets regional priorities for investments and initiatives on 5310 and also provides guidance for local people service. I'm not gonna read all that, everybody can read it themselves. But cliff notes, this plan needs to get updated every 5 years. Our last update was done in 2022. So our next one is due in December 27th. So we're kind of in like that middle period right now. So I do have a bunch of hard copies that I have on the table. If anybody does better with a hard copy and would like to take one of those home, just kind of review it. The main thing I want to draw your attention to is the strategies and goals section. So a lot of it is kind of demographics and data and existing services. And then those strategies and goals are outlined on pages 30 and 32. So we were discussing moving to quarterly meetings for this group. Does that seem to be the consensus of what people want to do moving forward? I know we kind of haven't really had that discussion too much yet, but regardless, if that's what we want to do, I would recommend we start quarterly in October. So we would still have a meeting in October, and then our following meeting wouldn't be until January. So we shift to quarterly. Mainly so that we're not trying to have maybe holidays, because I know that can get kind of jumbled in November, December. So we are moving to quarterly. I would recommend we do like a January, April, what is it, June, whichever the summer one is. So at that meeting in October, I would like us to have a discussion about this coordinated transit plan. Kind of look at the strategies that were proposed last iteration. See kind of what has been accomplished since then, wins that you guys might want to bring to the table for discussion. And then if there's anything in there that we have capacity to maybe focus on getting done or accomplished before we need to start work on the next update. The reason I want to have this discussion now is to kind of prevent the situation of, which has happened a few times with this plan, of we start realizing the next one is due. So we say, oh no, let's look at what we did last time and nothing has changed. So we're going to have the same goals and the same strategies, the same targets that we did 5 years ago. We're just gonna put new branding on it, new demographic data. So if there is an opportunity for us to kind of address some of those gaps that were identified last time, I think we're probably gonna wanna start work on the update around the end of next summer. Usually it's just updating the data. And then doing maybe like a provider survey to the agencies and drivers, as well as a ridership survey to all of the users of the system. And then kind of using that information to guide the goals and strategies for the next plan. So I'm giving everybody homework, is what this boils down to.
So in the new stuff, we'll also have, cause I don't know if this is just a COVID thing, but when we would track how many people would get on the bus at particular parts, would that be new data or was that only a COVID thing?
I'm not sure, I would have to check,
You know what I'm talking about?
I'm not sure.
It was kind of like they would have like the spot of where somebody would board. Essentially would be color coded, kind of like a heat map of where everything was more of a priority to board versus like unboarding.
Okay.
I mean, presumably Metro would have data about like where Moby is picking people up, even if it was like a heat map, so I would assume that we could get an update.
I think that's in here somewhere.
And if it's not, then that's definitely something we could look at acquiring data for, so that we can kind of plot that out.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it looks like we have. Yeah, like our.
Cause I'm really interested in that and then the food desert.
Yeah, there's that.
Yeah. Those are my two big ones.
I would also encourage us, just the, given the population that this body advocates for is the hospitals and medical offices, which is in here. Because there has been a shift, at least within Omaha, a lot of the medical providers have shifted far west outside of our zone and have not been considering transit before they move. And then nobody can get there and then they ask us, can you move your route? It's not that easy, my friend.
Well, one other thing that Alicia, I'm gonna remind you of when I did my demo. Knowing that not every stop is stopped at. I would also maybe like to have an idea of maybe which ones are utilized, aren't utilized.
And I think that that's stuff that we can look at, I would like to make a point of redirecting the committee a little bit to. One of the overarching goals is coordinated transit, so that's transit providers that include agencies that aren't just Metro. Right, so we have a whole bunch of service providers that are on this committee, so a lot of the goals that we're trying to do is make sure that everyone is working together. Making sure that routes line up where they can and that service gaps are kind of addressed. There are opportunities to work with Metro specifically, but that might be a different Metro-led committee opportunity. Within this group, I think we want to try and make sure that we're looking a little bit more regionally as opposed to just hooking Metro.
Cool stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, so that's all I had on the CTP. So sounds like we will do October, everybody's on board with October and then potentially switching to quarterly after that. So we'll look to do that. Melanie had sent us some information, and I'll make sure to send the slides out as well, so we can kind of review this in a little more detail, but there is a town hall on September 22nd. That is pro rail and a series of conversations about passenger rail systems in Nebraska, so if that is of interest to anyone, that is coming up on the 22nd. And then we have our council of officials meeting coming up in early October. So registration is now open for that, and if you scan the QR code, I can send out a link if you want some more information.
Motion second to him.
So motion.
Perfect.
Done.
Great, thanks everyone.
Thank you.
Be sure to grab a hard copy on your way out if you want one. Basically, we have a stack and I'm trying to prevent this from becoming hoarders, so. If you would like a copy, please.
A shared goal we have.
Shared goal. So, thanks so much, guys.
Yeah, thank you.